On behalf of WorkSafe VCFL, I'd like to welcome everyone here today for this announcement. Contrary to public belief and what's been stated in the media thus far, the VCFL will not be winding up today, tomorrow, or any time in the near future. As you're all aware, that there has been a review carried out into country football, and as Stephen said, that was released, recommendations were released late last year, and that since then there's been a number of working parties throughout the state working collaboratively together in relation to deciding which of those recommendations that should be implemented, and that really we as a board have taken that on board, and that we've considered very carefully what's the contents of the review, what's been put to us by the working parties, and ultimately it's the decision of the board to adopt most of the recommendations. But effectively, in our belief, the most important recommendation, which is the establishment of the 13 commissions throughout the state. Now, as you would all be aware, that at the moment as an organisation that we are Melbourne-centric, in the sense that the majority of our staff work out of Melbourne. We have 4 area managers who operate throughout the state. One of the mantras of the VCFL board over the past 10 years has been to try and make it easier for people to play country football, and that as part of that process that we developed the area manager program, and that we realise that what we need to do as an organisation is to put in place a process where we have more people in the field, and that without the assistance of the AFL we can't do that. It's as simple as that. So at the moment our area managers service approximately 180 affiliates. With the new implementation of the commissions, that will decrease to about 25 affiliates, so that the ability of the organisation to be able to service the wants and needs of the country affiliates is going to be far greater. We believe that that's a far better result for country football. As I said before, we're not in a position to be able to do that ourselves. Now, the board will, as I said before, that the VCFL is not winding up, so that the board will continue on a regional level, that the local clubs and leagues will affiliate both with the VCFL but also with the regional commission, and that ultimately what will happen is that local people will be responsible for local footballing decisions, so that in terms of each commission, there'll be one here in Bendigo, there'll be one in Shepparton, one in Albury, Wangaratta, and through Ballarat, Geelong, that there will be a commission initially of 3 by selection, and then there will be up to another 9 commissioners. Those individuals, men and hopefully some women, will be in charge of football within that local area. And so that on one view of it, instead of having the VCFL local centralised in Melbourne, being responsible for all country football, that will be divided up throughout the state, which we believe is a big plus. There's been some comment made also that the review has come as a result of the sudden departure of Glenn Scott. We don't necessarily subscribe to that view. Perhaps you could say that was just an unfortunate coincidence. But be that as it may, 10 years ago we had a turnover of about 1.5 million. We had a staff of 5. We've gone to a turnover of nearly 6 million, a staff of about 20. But in terms of us being able to grow the game, in terms of us being able to increase participation numbers, in terms of us being able to create a vertical pathway in terms of going from Auskick to underage football to club football, and then ultimately, if you're good enough, to TOC and onwards, we can't do that. We're not in a position to be able to do that, and that we as a board believe that as a result of that, we're doing all country football a disservice. That everyone here today, whether you're from the media or from a club level or a league level or at any other level, everyone's here today because they're passionate about football. to be passionate about country football. What we've found is throughout the journey over the last 12 months that there's been very little opposition to this by our affiliates. That I would almost go as far to say that everyone supports it conceptually, everyone supports it philosophically, and that they believe, as we believe, that it's a better outcome for country football. And what we want to do is to be able to grow the game and ultimately make it easier for people to be able to play football. And that, quite simply, it's as simple as that. So that I'd now like to pass it over to Peter for a few words.
Thanks, Nicholas. Because AFL Victoria Chairman, I'm obviously delighted about the VCFL's position today. It's an endorsement of the review, which is great. A lot of work's gone into the last almost 12 months since it was tabled. Stephen Reaper, Jim Cale, who are here today, headed up the project team, with John O'Donoghue, who's over the back over there. Done a lot of work with the steering committee as well. Been around every region of Victoria talking to these working parties, trying to explain exactly what we're trying to do. We understand the review was very thick, the report, and it would have been difficult to wade through it, but we got out and talked to everybody and tried to make them understand exactly what we're trying to achieve here, which is fundamentally local authority, more local resources, and making clubs sustainable and vibrant places for young people to play football. And that's really what we want to achieve. So we're delighted that the VCFL board has come to that position as well. I would like to congratulate the VCFL board and Nicholas in particular as chairman. People talk about parochialism in football. You see it around the place, you see it in clubs and leagues, you see it in country Victoria, you see it in metropolitan Melbourne, you see it at the AFL level. From the first time this review was announced, when we had a meeting of affiliates invited back at Carlton, probably April 2011, something I can't remember, it might have been before that, Nicholas stood up as chairman at the end and said, the VCFL are approaching this with an open mind. This whole review's been about football, not about the VCFL, not about the AFL, not about a takeover, about where is football in country Victoria now, what do we need to do to get it right, if it's not right now. Throughout that whole time, the VCFL board, in my views, only been interested in one thing, and that's the best interest of their affiliates. And their decision and their announcement today reflects that fact. And that's what their role is as a board, to do that. But having that as your role and actually doing it sometimes is a different thing, especially in footy. And I think it's great leadership that they've come through this process and come to this position now. I also want to thank the AFL. Andrew Dillon here is representing the AFL itself today. 18 months ago we changed the governance structure of AFL Victoria. It used to operate under a separate organisation called Football Victoria. Had its own independent board at arm's length to AFL, and AFL wasn't really involved in Victorian football, to be frank about it. And they've gone into some expansion markets, and that's a great thing for football because it will make this great game the biggest game in the whole of Australia. But the reason for that governance change was to get back in touch with the heartland, which is Victoria. And they made that governance change, and they created a new AFL Victoria, and they took direct responsibility for AFL Victoria, and I was really pleased on that basis to take up that role. And this review of country Victoria emanated out of that. So where you are today, this announcement today is a reflection both of the VCFL board leadership and AFL making a commitment to its heartland. And I think from that point of view, it's a fantastic result. We need more resources in country Victoria, we'll get them. The funding for those will come for some efficiencies in the way we operate closer together as two organisations, which these two gentlemen will do over the coming months, plus extra funding from AFL and AFL Victoria. So it's a great day for country football, really pleased. Thank you.
And just on behalf of the AFL, I'd also like to say we're delighted with the position the VCFL board have taken in supporting the recommendations of the review. We're extremely confident that the decentralised regional commission structure will deliver great benefits to the affiliates of the VCFL and the clubs and all participants of football in country Victoria. We think the extra resources will be great and it will enable participation to flourish. As Peter noted, the AFL has been expanding into the northern states, but the changed government structure in Victoria has put a renewed focus on footy in Victoria from the AFL. We think we'll continue to go from strength to strength. It's our biggest participation base in Australia and will continue to be so. So from the AFL, we're delighted that the VCFL board has shown the leadership to support these recommendations. On that basis, I'd like to thank Nicholas for the leadership and also the board that he's shown. Thank you to Peter for all the work that he's done at AFL Victoria, and also to Stephen and Grant, who have headed up the working groups, and Jim, Cale and John. Thank you very much for their work, and that's it from the AFL. Thanks.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. Any questions?